Africa, a land of diverse cultures and rich history, faced a new challenge in the late 19th century: European colonization. Driven by greed for resources and power, European nations descended upon Africa like vultures eyeing a carcass. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 saw these powers dividing the continent amongst themselves, with little regard for the existing borders or the wishes of the African people. France, Britain, Belgium, Portugal, Germany and Italy were the main players in this scramble. They carved out territories, imposing their languages, cultures and systems of governance on the indigenous populations. This marked the beginning of a dark chapter in African history, one characterized by exploitation, oppression and the systematic dismantling of traditional ways of life. The impact of this division was profound and far-reaching. Traditional systems of governance were replaced with European models, often ill-suited to the local context. Ethnic groups with long histories of peaceful coexistence were pitted against each other, sowing seeds of discord that continue to plague some regions even today. Life under colonial rule was harsh for the majority of Africans. They were subjected to forced labor, often working on plantations or in mines owned by European companies. These companies grew rich on the backs of African labor, extracting vast quantities of resources like rubber, diamonds, and gold. Education systems were designed to assimilate Africans into European culture, often denigrating their own traditions and languages. Access to quality education was limited, ensuring that Africans remained subservient, lacking the tools and knowledge to challenge the colonial order. The social fabric of African societies was torn apart. Traditional leadership structures were undermined and communities were disrupted as people were forced to migrate in search of work. This displacement led to the breakdown of family units and eroded cultural practices passed down through generations. Despite the oppressive conditions, the spirit of resistance flickered brightly in the hearts of many Africans. From the very beginning, individuals and communities rose up to challenge colonial rule, albeit with varying degrees of success. Some resisted through peaceful means, advocating for better treatment and greater autonomy. Others took up arms, engaging in armed struggle against their oppressors. Leaders like Samori Toure in West Africa and Nhanda Nyakisikana in Southern Africa became symbols of resistance, inspiring their people to fight for their freedom. These acts of resistance, though often met with brutal reprisals, chipped away at the foundations of colonial power. They demonstrated the unwavering spirit of the African people, their refusal to be subjugated, and their yearning for self-determination. The end of World War II marked a turning point in the fight against colonialism. Weakened by the war, European powers found it increasingly difficult to maintain their grip on their colonies. The rise of nationalist movements across the continent, fueled by the sacrifices of those who resisted, further hastened the demise of colonial rule. One by one, African nations began to achieve independence. Ghana, under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah, became the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence in 1957. This event had a ripple effect, inspiring other colonized nations to intensify their own struggles for self-rule. However, the legacy of colonialism cast a long shadow over the newly independent nations. Many faced the daunting task of rebuilding their countries after decades of exploitation and neglect. The arbitrary borders drawn during the colonial era left a legacy of ethnic tensions and conflicts that continue to this day.